Welcome to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast, where I chat with expats about their favourite holiday destinations. Let's be honest, expats are some of the best travellers around, always planning the next adventure, exploring hidden gems, and finding the best spots wherever they go. So who better to ask for travel inspiration? So welcome back to Truly Expat Travel Podcast. It's me, Paula, again. I am going to talk to you about my recent trip to a beautiful part of France, a little town called Nîmes. I don't know if you've heard of it or why I've chosen this, because it is so different to any other part of France that I have been to. It is, they do call it like the Rome of France, and that's because, well, I'll let you know a little bit more about it a little bit later, but generally speaking, it is just so different to anywhere else. And I really, really fell in love with this little town. When I say little, it is little. It's really little. And you can walk around, so it's a very walkable street. So let's get into today's episode. I am, again, hosting on my own. And I don't know if you already know this or if you've been listening for a little while, but what I have been doing is doing one on my own each month, just on recent trips that I've been doing. I think that maybe I will go back and reflect on some of the other places I visited, but this one is one that I visited just before summer, and it was the perfect time of year to travel because it wasn't busy. It was not so touristy like other places that I visited in May. And it is, I don't actually know. I do think that it's probably, I have been told, because I did do a tour, that it is very busy there in summer. But it was the perfect temperature because it was a little bit cooler. It did rain one day, but really just sprinkled, so it wasn't too much of an issue. And it was really easy to really easy to get to. Let's start from the beginning. So how I got there via train. So I caught a plane into Marseille, spent a couple of days in Marseille, which again is very, very different. I've been there a few times, and it is a little different to other parts of France as well, which I will probably talk about more in other episodes. But if you want to do this kind of trip that I did, you can go onto my website, which is www.trulyexpattravel.com, and there is a 10-day itinerary of you can start in France, catch a train down to Marseille, and then a train over to Nîmes, or you can fly straight into Marseille and catch a train into Nîmes, just as easy. And the countryside's beautiful, so catching a train was quite relaxing and really, really easy, because when you get out of the train station in Nîmes, you literally just walk to your accommodation. It's very, very close. But remember, it's mainly cobblestone streets, so if you are going to be walking a little distance, then probably if you stay outside, especially if you're staying outside of the area, then I would definitely catch a taxi, or I think you can catch a bus. I'm not sure, because I was literally walking distance. I was very close to the train station, but it was also really close to all of the major attractions too. So I would highly recommend staying closer to the train station, so it's not such an issue with your bag, unless you've got a backpack, and then it doesn't really matter. So let's get started. As I said, it was really easy to get there. What my itinerary looked like for 2 days. I started off getting to know the area, and I did like a little train ride. I don't know if you've seen them, especially in Europe. They're big in Europe. There's these little trains that you take that take you on a tour, and they have either a person talking, or they have like a kind of a recording for each place that you kind of go past or stop at, and tells you a little bit about the history of the area. So that was a really great way to kind of get my bearings, because then I realized actually it's not that far. This is a very walkable little town, and why it's so unique, which I discovered as I was going around, is because they do call it like the little Rome of France, because you have like, what do you call them? Italian temple, like a old Greek theater. So it has that Roman feel with a little Colosseum. No, well, it's a little Colosseum compared to other places, but it's still quite big. And it's workable. And people are using, well, they use it for concerts and stuff. So it is a really cool way to kind of get your bearings, because you do catch the train near the tourism board, which is very close to the Colosseum. Then I picked up a city ticket. So I think you can only get them from the tourism board. I'm pretty sure. I don't think you can get them online. And it allows you to get into lots of different attractions, like the theatre and the museums. There's a couple of museums there. There's a few museums actually. And the Colosseum. So, and I think I even used it on the train. I could be wrong, but I think I even used it on the mini train, that little train. So, because I went to the tourism board first, picked up my City Go card. I don't think it's called City Go. I will link the right definition and kind of like the name of it in my show notes, or for the YouTube channel, or my kind of notes anyway. So I may be calling it incorrectly. The name incorrect. Here I am waffling. Sorry, I might be calling it the wrong thing, but generally speaking, it's usually a Go City card or something like that. Anyway, let's get back into it. So after I did that, by the time I did that and walked around the town and had a look at the town and how pretty it is, it's like everything's like white, and it's almost like other places you see in Europe where it's got like what is the word I'm looking for? It's like it's a cooler color exterior architecture, like a medieval kind of architecture. But this place, because they've washed all of the stone and really kept it up to date, it's very white. The town is very white, as opposed to other places where looks a little bit dirty or older. It's very white and very pretty. Like, it's like a fairy tale. That's the only way I can explain it. It really captured my heart, and I felt like maybe I've just stepped into a story book, and this is what medieval towns really look like back in the day. Cobblestones, the cobblestone floors and the white exteriors and the Greek theatre and the Colosseum. I can imagine myself being part of, you literally just put yourself back into those days, and I can't believe that in this day and age we still have towns like this. So yeah, I fell in love with it, as you can tell. Then went kind of and had some lunch, and can I tell you, two places that I would highly recommend. One is, I'm gonna really cruel the language here, so any French people out there, please forgive me for my pronunciation. But La Napo and can I tell you, you have to sit outside. If it's raining, I guess it's beautiful inside, but outside, you literally sit right in front of the Greek theatre, the Greek temple, and it's not theatre, Greek temple, and it's so magnificent. Like, where else in the world can you sit right in front of a Greek, like Roman kind of, temple that was built back in the day? Like, it's just, I don't know. I just sat there and just loved it. And then I would highly recommend, if anyone likes seafood, the salmon tartare or the tartare de salmone. I don't know if I'm putting my Italian spin on it. I don't even know how to pronounce that. But in English, it's salmon tartare, and it was divine. It was really divine. It blew my mind away. So, and I'm not a big French cuisine eater, just because I feel like sometimes it's quite rich, and I'm just not. I do like French food, but it's not one of my easiest things for me to eat. But this was amazing. It was fresh. It was, oh yeah. Anyway, I'm taking myself back there at the moment. I just loved it so much. And by that time, I then went, after that, I then went and had a look at the temple and listened to, so you can actually go inside the temple, which is very interesting. So I spent my morning, until midday doing that. And then in the afternoon, I had a tour of the Colosseum. I had a guided tour. You can go in and get the headphones. It does cost you to get in. There is an entry fee and you can go in with headphones. I did see people walking around with headphones, but I love a guided tour. Why? Because she was able to give me so much more information than I think I would have got out of a guided headset, just because I can ask heaps of questions. And she told me a lot of about the history, and also the fact that they come and they still reenact that era. So if you come in, I think she said June, but I'll double check that and put that in my show notes if it's incorrect. But I think it's June that because it can't have been June. It must have been April, because I was there in May. So she had said they just had it, and where they reenact the whole time of that kind of era and people walk around. It's a massive thing. It is probably their busiest day of the year, but if you want to go back in time and have a look at that. So if that's your thing, then that you can, because people walk around, she said, in the clothes, and it's a really good atmosphere. So that was kind of like my first day. I really got to know the area. And I also went to, there's a museum opposite the temple that I went to as well. If you like modern art, then that's probably a great place to have a look at. I'm not really into modern art, so I did scoot around and have a look, but I much prefer the classics. So yeah, each to their own. And then that night I just kind of walked around and had a look at what was going on, but I really took the first day really kind of slowly, which I'm glad I did, because the next day was quite busy. And day 2, I then went on a tour. For those who don't know, Nîmes is where denim originated, and denim originated. So there's so much history involved in that kind of area. So I did a tour with a guided tour with a company that has brought back creating denim there. So as as any other place in the world, little towns kind of can't survive like they used to. So a lot of the manufacturing is being done outside in bigger places in France, where you can, buy things like Levi's and stuff like that in the US. So, but this particular place or company has decided to bring denim back into Nîmes, which I loved. And so they gave us a tour of the boutique, gave us a little bit of the history. I wasn't able to go to the factory, but apparently you can go to the factory and do like a little workshop and see how it's all produced. But it was so fascinating. It really was. And I just love that they've brought back that history into this little town that really deserves it. It was really interesting. So if you want to buy yourself a pair of jeans, this is the place to buy it. And I'll put it all in the show notes. And I do have a whole article on it on my website if you really want to get to know a little bit more about it. So the morning was spent looking around the little shops. There's so many cute little boutiques, as always in France, but in particular here. So there was quite a lot of little shops there. So I did that in the morning, and then by lunchtime I went to a little cafe that's called Le Questel. I think I'm saying it properly. Le Questel, which had a beautiful food, but can I say, and it had mussels, so it was really delicious. But their desserts are next level. I honestly, you can't go past desserts there. And the croissant was in the morning I went over there and had a coffee and a croissant, and it was so crispy and light. So I went back at lunch and had the desserts are to die for. So yeah, definitely there. And you can sit inside and it's cozy. It's very busy. It seemed to have the busiest cafe that I came across, but with mainly locals. And then you sit outside and it's beautiful. It's just like green and it's pretty. Then in the afternoon, my afternoon was spent in this. They've got the most beautiful gardens. So I walked all around the gardens. There's a little house that used to be there. So it's like a little garden of shows you how life used to be. And I felt honestly like I had been transported back into a time like that they wore big dresses, and you could see what the garden was, right? These little pockets of places where you could sit down, and it was away from the hustle bustle, yet so close. It was so pretty. Like, honestly, oh, yeah. I can't stop talking about it because it is honestly my favorite place in the whole of France. And that's a big call because France got some beautiful little towns and big towns and cities. But yeah, this is by far my favorite place in the world. And then by that afternoon, I then went and had a look at the museums. They've got quite a few museums there, and I like history. So for me, the museums were a great indication of what was going on back in the time. There's a lot of artifacts, and there's a few. I think in the afternoon I ended up going to 3 museums, but one of them also, I don't know if it's an exhibition or whether it is something that is there all the time, but they had a denim exhibition in the church. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, it was in the church kind of hall, and it was all about the history of where denim come from, how it went to the US, why it went to the US, why it became so big in the US, that kind of thing. That was quite interesting. And that was kind of my 2 days that I spent walking around. And I was able to just also people watch, slow down, people watch, which you don't really do in many places, especially in Asia. You can't, it's creepy. But in France and Italy and stuff, you tend to be able to sit back and do that and just fall in love with this little tiny town. Anyway, okay, let's moving right on. How easy it to get there? What did your itinerary look like? Were there any standout experience or moments that made the trip unforgettable? It was the whole thing. I'm a big history buff, so for me to find out that denim came from there and that I was able to go and find out all the history about it, how it came about, I loved it. That was kind of my standout moment. No, you know what? Actually, that's not true. I had a few. So my standout moment was really getting off that train and walking down the cobblestone of the street. It was so pretty. It was so pretty. It really was. I don't know what it would be looking like in winter, but honestly, May, perfect temperature, whereas I had a little bit of a cardigan on or a light jacket but light clothes, but the sun was out, blue skies, so pretty. Like, so pretty. Every trip has a surprise. What was unexpected to me, like I said, was that the town was so pretty. So pretty, lots of history. And it was so different to any other place I've seen in kind of France because of that, like, Italian heritage. All the, those architecture, the architecture was a little different to everywhere else. So, and I believe that it's a very arty town. That's what I was told. I went on another tour and then another day with the local tourism board, and she was able to give me a lot of information about the town, which is great, which is all in my articles. So yeah, must read them. Did you have any cultural experiences or interactions with local? Yeah. So the tour guides, they were so lovely. So I had one tour guide who had an American mum and a French father, or the other way around. I think, yeah, a French father. So she had the best of both worlds, speaks French, lived there all her life pretty much. But she spoke English perfectly, and she was able to explain all the culture of the area. And then I also got to know the people that showed us around for the denim and do that tour. They were really lovely. And also the tourism board was super friendly, super, super friendly. So that's also great. And each restaurant that I went to, the interaction, they were happy to see locals. And to be fair, I don't think I saw that many tourists. There were a few, but not like anywhere else I've been. So I guess they were just really, really lovely and grateful for me being there. What I wish I had known before I was going, that you should be doing more than just 2 or 3 days. There's so much more to see outside of the town as well, which I really didn't get a chance to do, which I think I need to go back and discover it again, because there is so many areas. It's a really good hub to base yourself, and it's not that expensive, like for a French town, it's not very over the top. It's not Paris, so I highly recommend starting there and then having a day or 2 trips out elsewhere to the lavender fields, which I really wanted to do, to the bridge, the Liverpool Bridge, which is I saw kind of when we were past it, but no, I would have liked to have gone out there and had a look at it. So there are heaps of things to do, which I probably should have spent a few more days. And if you could give one tip or advice, I would suggest, again, spending a few more days and discovering a little bit outside the area, maybe even hiring a car. You can't actually park inside the town in the city. So the city is not worth getting a car. Definitely don't get a car because you can't park it anywhere. But if you were maybe to do a day trip, maybe you could go outside the city and get a car, or have a day tour, like go on a day tour trip that it's all provided for you, so you don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. That's what I would stay a couple more days. I wish I'd really stayed a couple more days and go in a cooler weather when there isn't that many people around and the weather is perfect. Or I had one sprinkly day, but it didn't stop me from doing anything. And try all the food, because the food there is a little different. I think every place in the world, right? Not every town and city has exactly the same cuisine. So yeah, try a few things. But yeah, it definitely should be on your bucket list. So if you're considering going to anywhere along the French Riviera or Provence, I'd say please don't come from me for my pronunciation. But if you are in that neck of the woods, definitely head over to Nîmes, because it is one of the most fairy-like pretty towns I've ever been to. And so that's it. That's it from me. Until next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any destinations or any clips of what I've been rambling on about. Anyway, until next time. So join us again next week on Truly Expat Travel Podcast, where I have another exciting destination in a world that's too big to be left unexplored. Ciao for now.